Ugh. Oh, that's just Keith.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Welcome everyone to the annual meeting of the Privateer Yacht Club. The year is 2021 and we have truly sailed into a new decade. A year ago tonight, I took the position as Commodore of PYC. And I know there are a lot of questions. What kind of Commodore is Keith going to be? And what kind of year will he lead us through? I don't think any of us could have imagined what 2020 was going to be. But luckily, I have great friends. I have a tight-knit circle of close friends. Well, it's not really a circle. It's more like a trapezoid. I have a tightly knit trapezoid of close friends. And I think anyone who has ever been Commodore and anyone who will ever be Commodore knows that you cannot do this position without close friends. The friends have given me a lot of support this year, and they've also given me a lot of advice. And some of the advice has been fantastic, and it's life advice, and I think we all could learn from it. Now, there's no way I could share all the advice that I have gained this year, so I've boiled it down to three main points, and I'd like to share those points with you tonight. The first piece of advice came from my great friend Peyton Ankers, and she approached me in the parking lot with her twinkle in her eye and her great big Peyton Ankers smile, and she said, "Hey Keith, are you excited about being Commodore?" And I said, "Well, I'm a little bit apprehensive. I want to do a good job." And her smile just brightened as it does, and she said, "Just don't let the MF burn down." Okay, I've got it. And Peyton, I hope you're listening tonight. We have about an hour left. So far, so good. The second piece of advice I sought out, and I went up high on the mountain to visit who I think of as the oracle of PYC, Mr. Rob Fowler. And I said, "Rob, how do I balance between being excited, energetic Keith and being the dignified Commodore that PYC deserves?" And Rob thought about it for a minute, and he said, "Well, Keith, I'll tell you this. We've had good Commodores and we've had bad Commodores, and we're still here." I'm really not sure exactly what Rob was trying to tell me, but I hope I fell into the right camp. The third piece of advice came from my great friend, Mr. Corey Blair. And it was at the annual meeting last year. Corey walked up to me and he put his hand on my shoulder and he looked me squarely in the eye and he said, now before I tell you what he said, those of you who don't know Corey have to understand that he does not mince words, right? You hang on every word he says because every word is important. So Corey walked up to me. He put his hand on my shoulder, looked me squarely in the eye, and he said, now before I tell you what he said, the first time I met Corey was sailing on Chris Searle's boat in the Shackleton series, just north of here. And I was new to the boat, and I was rigging the lines the best I could, and Corey walked up to me, and he said, here, let me show you how it's done so you don't goof it all up. Okay, all right, a lesser man might have been offended by that, but I understood exactly what Corey was saying. What he was saying was, let me show you how it's done so you don't goof it up. Anyway, back to the advice. So he walked up to me. He put his hand on my shoulder. He looked me squarely in the eye. You know what? Before I give you the advice, these words are so important that I'd like everyone to get out a pencil and a piece of paper so you can write these words down. Okay, here we go. So Corey walked up to me. He put his hand on my shoulder. He looked me squarely in the eye. Did I say a pencil and a paper? Get a pen and paper, because these words should not fade. So Corey walked up to me. He put his hand on my shoulder. Oh, by the way, if you have young children listening, there might be some expletives. So you might want to tune out just for 30 seconds. Corey walked up to me. He put his hand on my shoulder. He looked me squarely in the eye, and he said, "Keith, keep your head out of your ass and don't fuck this up." But I thought about that, and I thought about all the advice I was given. And think of those 3 pieces of advice. Think how fantastic they all are. Peyton and Corey and Rob, I don't know if you realize this, but every challenge that I've faced this year as Commodore, I've thought about those 3 pieces of advice. Let's repeat them one more time, and let's think about what they are saying. Number 1, just don't let the thing burn down. Whatever it is you're doing, just don't let it burn down. Number 2, we've had good ones, we've had bad ones, we'll be fine. And number 3, keep your head in the game and don't goof it up. How fantastic is that? There have been mountains of books written that don't contain the wisdom of those 3 pieces of advice. So thank you all. I appreciate all of my friends here at PYC. In addition to my tightly knit trapezoid of friends, I have had a tightly knit 9-sided polygon of my board of directors. And they have done an absolutely fantastic job this year. I distinctly remember the February board meeting when we were just getting an inkling of what this COVID-19 was going to mean to us as a club, but also as a nation. I invited Dr. Carl Dyer into that meeting to describe how we can keep our membership safe, but how we can also carry on as a club. I'm not sure we took it completely seriously in that board meeting, but in the March board meeting, we had some very serious conversations and we had some decisions to make. We could shut the whole thing down, or we could ignore it and just carry on business as normal. Now, I want to tell you all, there are clubs in this country that have shut down, that have had no activity throughout the year. I was so proud of this board of directors not to take either of those ends of the spectrum, but to take a moderated, deliberate approach in our racing, in our club activities, and in our junior sail camp. And I dare say we had one of the strongest sailing seasons and one of the funnest sailing seasons that I've seen. People were wearing masks on their sailboats. They were social distancing. They were having good conversations to make sure that they hadn't been exposed. We had a super strong junior sail camp. We invited the health inspector from the county to come to the club and make sure we were doing everything we were doing. And he was so appreciative of what we were doing. He actually allowed us to increase our numbers throughout many of the weeks. I think that's fantastic. I would like to give the board of directors a huge round of applause for the work they did this year. So that is my Commodore's report, and we'll carry on with the rest of the directors now. Last year, when the nominating committee asked for some of my input on who I would like to see on the board of directors, there was one name that came to my mind. And I was told, nah, he's not interested. He's not going to be on the board this year, but I gave him a call anyway. And through a conversation back and forth, he finally agreed. Many of the systems that you see running tonight, the house and grounds, the things that happen here, that's no accident. And it's through the hard work and dedication of our buildings and grounds director. And I would like to introduce now Mr. Tom Clark.
Well, thank you very much, Keith. And thank you for leading us very carefully through this year. Anybody knows this has been anything but a normal year. And for the buildings and grounds, it was some good, some bad. The good part was we had very little use of the clubhouse, so not much wear and tear in the clubhouse. The bad news is we didn't have our normal traditional work parties. And so a lot of things that would normally be done outside, take care of little odds and ends, just didn't see how we're going to happen. And a special thanks to Keith. He came up with an idea and really facilitated it. Walk around the club, get pictures of things that need to be repaired, and made a bulletin board of those and put them up. And we sent a notice around to the club membership. Anybody that can do these things, they're pretty much single person jobs. Come up here, sign your name, do them. And that list pretty well got totally taken care of. It was very well done. Great idea. Thanks for Keith coming up with that idea. But there still were three other significant things. Maybe not didn't take a lot of manpower, but it took some dedicated workforce from the membership. And the first thing, anybody that thinks about electricity around this club thinks about Dave Bergevin. And Dave Bergevin has been working all year on safety projects out here. Anybody that's been up here at night has walked up the stairs or the ramp, but now you can do without falling on your face. And the lights at the top of the stairs and down at the ramp have both been replaced with LEDs, so now you can actually see down there the light sensors work. It's been a very nice improvement to safety. And again, thank you to David. Now, in particular, for the dinghy sailors, been making trips from the upper clubhouse down to the lower lot over the years and watching the stairs just deteriorate and get slipperier and slipperier and ricketier as time's gone on. I know we've been talking about it for at least 3 or 4 years, just replacing all those. Well, this year we finally got over the hump and got that done. Rob Fowler had laid out a plan how to get from the South Cove up top, but we still had the problem of the stairs. Well, you can see all the effort that was put in by the board, and particularly Keith, and the strain on him. Because one day he came up here, he got a sledgehammer in his hand, and he just going gangbusters, knocking this thing down. I said, "You want some help?" "Oh no, this is a great way to get some pressure off." And he kept on going, got it all down, and got it cleaned up. So that was a big step. And then Rob and Guy Campbell came down here and made a pathway from South Cove up to where the incline increases significantly, so that it had to have stairs. Well, Guy and Rob and Van Palladora went down there and came up with a way to put timbers down there to give us stairs. And they got nice stairs that are not going to have to worry about falling over. Well, then 1 month later, a tree falls down, knocks the power line down, and the new power went underground right through the middle of the stairs. So they all nicely getting settled in. We had to turn them all out. And who volunteers to put them back in? Guy again. So big thanks to Guy for putting those back in. And Van, really appreciate it for us going down the small lot, down the dinghy lot. It's been wonderful. So thank you for that. And I know there's some complaints about it, but if you sit on the porch and you want to watch a race, you can do it now. We have a railing going around you can see through. Now, everybody that looks at it complains they can't stand their beer on it, but they still sit down and watch the race and enjoy it. So it doesn't sound like much, but when you're sitting out there and want to watch the race, it really is nice. And we had a small group of people working on that too. We had Eddie Graham, and he was up here and he brought an associate with him, Ryan Elverd. Well, now he's become one of the members of our crew, so that's worked out really well for us on Caliente. And then Dave Varnell and Fred Cook. Fall came around and we needed to do a little bit of fall cleanup, so we called a little meeting together and everybody said, try to get as far apart as you could, and got a great crew up here, but I can't tell you who did it because I dropped the ball. I didn't get the names of all the volunteers, but we had a bunch. got all the leaves out and made a mountain at the front gate. So it worked out really well to clean it up, but the bad news is, gotta do it again in the spring. But thanks to all the people that worked on that. But the good news is Keith said, the building didn't burn down, it's still in place, everything's still working. So hope we have a better year this year, we can come up and enjoy more of it. I think the buildings and grounds can stay and have a few more people up here in the building. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you so much for all your hard work this year. Being Commodore, you have to ask the right people the right questions sometimes. And one of those questions always has to do with money. And I was always looking over, he was normally sitting on my right, looking over to Gary, trying to get the approval to see if we could do the projects that we were doing. And more often than not, Gary, he would look at his numbers and he would go, well, I might have to move some things around, but yeah, we can do that. I love those words. Mr. Gary Harwell.
All right. This has been a slow year for COVID, you know, financially and everything. And with all these lights and cameras, my report's going to be even shorter than what I'd planned probably. But we got BDOC paid for this year, redecking it. We got the rewiring paid for. We still ended up the year with $77,000 in cash. So all the bills are paid, everything's current. So we ended the year in good shape. That's about all I have. If you have any questions, feel free to call me. If you have any problems, call Mitch Coleman. He's the treasurer starting tomorrow. And that's it. Thanks for letting me be your treasurer for the last 3 years. I enjoyed it. So.
Last year, I received 3 years ago, I received a phone call from my dear friend, and she asked me, Keith, would you be up for being on the board of directors for another go-around? And I said, no, I think I'm good. I'm not really interested. And she said, well, we want to make you a flag officer so you can become Commodore. And I said, well, I'm going to have to think about that. So I called Linda Lind back about 15 minutes later, fully intending to say no, that I was good. And the phone rang, and she picked up the phone. I don't know if it was like this, but however phones are picked up. She picked up the phone, and the word she said was, you better say yes. And in that instant, I changed my mind. She is very persuasive, Mrs. Linda Lind.
Over the years, I have had the opportunity to be a variety of things on the board, and I have to say this year I got the gift. I was the secretary, which has got to be by far the easiest job that there ever was. It is my role to take minutes at the meetings, to send those minutes out to the board members for any corrections or additions, and then to send those to the person who does private ear so they can go out to the membership. I was unavailable a couple times this year because of the surgery I had, and I want to thank Tom Clark and Rob Fowler for taking minutes for me when I was a bit incapacitated. But all in all, I think we did a reasonably good job of documenting the activities of the club. I thank you all for your support, and I will be happy to turn the reins over to someone else.
Thank you, Linda. Michael Esperon, just want to let you know I'm going to skip Susan Howell for now. But then she will be coming up next. She should be on the call if you'll get her queued up. This next gentleman, I distinctly remember the first day I met him. And I got to tell you, I was a little bit frightened of him. But then after knowing him for many, many years and kind of tearing through that rough, gruff, tough exterior, I have to say, I'm still kind of frightened of him. Mr. David Barnell.
I have the dock master's report for the year 2020. Many times this year I felt like I was not a dock master but a forester. We started out the year having to remove a number of trees endangering boats from the South Cove several times. Then we had the Easter tornadoes, which left us with a torrential downpour that flooded out the South Cove, and we had to contract with a person that does dirt work to repair all that. Then in the middle of the summer, we were able to get dock masters to start on our redecking project of B-Dock. We were able to complete that by early September, and during that time, we made a decision to go ahead while we had the decking up to do some electrical upgrades to B-Dock, who were very much in need of getting up to code. Once we completed that, and Gary was able to find more money in the budget, we decided to go ahead and do phase 2 of B-Dock, and we completed that by about the end of November. During that time, new electrical and light pedestals were installed. We were able to get new upgraded dock bumpers installed, and we declared B-Dock complete in December. We were able to get help by y'all maybe remember the tires that were on the old B-Dock. We had 80 tires that came off of B-Dock, and we were able to get those hauled over to the Hamilton County Recycling Center and get rid of those. Toward the end of the year, we did another big forestry job where we all got together and cut down trees in the hilltop storage area in order to facilitate more storage and ease of movement of trailers up there. There were many minor repairs made to the docks throughout the year. We have 10 dry slips available, and 3 shallow draft wet slips are available. And I want to thank, there are so many people that helped this year with all these different projects that I'm afraid to name any of them for fear of forgetting someone, but the help was so great this year. It made my job so easy. Everyone came out when necessary, and I really appreciate the help we had, and I feel like we've really accomplished a lot this year in getting our docks upgraded, and they'll be there for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, David. It was with elegance and grace that our social director approached this year. She actually had a very challenging job because I was pushing to try to get some socials underway, and she was understanding of the CDC recommendations, and she led me in the right direction every time. I believe Susan Howe is online, and is she ready to give her report?
Yes? Okay, great. Thanks, Keith. I had so many big plans for this year. I was really, or for 2020, I was really excited about all the fun parties we could have. And we got through Mardi Gras and it just kind of came to a slam and halt. So I just real quick, I had prepared a quick little rundown of the year. We had lots of fun activities planned for 2020. January kicked off last year with the Commodore's dinner, getting Keith into his position and getting ready to go. We had a big Mardi Gras party in February. Blast, great time. I was already in full swing to plan our St. Patty's Day bash, and March 13th happened. As most of you know, I'm a teacher at Bright School, and Friday the 13th of March, we sent our students home along with everybody else in the county, and Governor Lee came out with his guidelines for large party gatherings, which was not to exceed 50. And as all of you know who have attended socials over the years, our socials are never under 50 people, ever. It's usually somewhere in the neighborhood of 85 at a minimum and beyond. So that became the big focus of how are we going to do these things with some constraints put on us. And along with having to just as citizens learn about what the parameters were from the CDC and the health department locally, I became part of our COVID task force at Bright School, which led me to a 6-week learning curve, 2 hours every Monday night for 6 weeks of just learning intensive practices of what we need to be doing, what we need to be looking for the future. And while that was sort of for a school population, it applies to every population. So those were kind of the conversations I had with Keith and along with the board at our meetings, just as I was learning along the way, and things that we were kind of getting wind of that were coming down the pike. And lo and behold, they came just like they were predicted to come. We did, however, manage to, in July, let our associate members go on ahead and pull off a small social gathering, as the associates always do, the 4th of July gathering. We did that via a Sign Up Genius. We had 24 for lunch and then did a separated dinner time. And there were 9 for that. And Dee and Gary were there for that. And really small. And I think that it was then, that was in July, and we really hadn't even hit our big, heavy stride in Hamilton County with big, heavy numbers at that point. But I think just having that social and seeing that really, really small turnout, I think it was kind of a cue as to how the majority of the membership felt about being in social scenarios, which was completely understandable. I think everybody understood why not many people were just lashing out to go jump into a social setting. We posted up our guidelines from CDC, made sure everybody, followed that. Alongside with that, with our board meetings, we all sat outside on the decks. It was always really pleasant. We were social distance, we were masked, we were playing by all the rules, and it went great. Keith was fantastic in keeping a level head and just rolling with it, because what else can you do? We ended the year with the Commodore's dinner in January, passing all this fun to our dear Rob Fowler. Have fun with that, Rob. And to sweet Tina Campbell, who will be taking my place as the social director. And as the year screeched to a halt in February for me, it might not gear up for her until a little later on in the season. So we'll just have to wait and see. But my hope is that illness is out the door and more fun is on its way in the door, because I know that's a big, big piece of Privateer's history and monthly get-togethers. And that's what keeps that club, I think, so tight-knit, is all their social gatherings and that fellowship and just fun times that everybody always has together. So I hope there's a lot more of that for 2021 this year. Thank you, Keith, for including me in your year. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Susan. I really appreciate you. Michael, also after the next presenter, then Paul Healy will be coming up, and I think he might be online. He's my friend, he's my hiking buddy, and he wields a chainsaw like no other. Membership Director, Mr. Eddie Graham.
Well, like Keith told you at the beginning of the year, we had a number of concerns, and one of which was that we might lose a significant number of members due to the pandemic. And that made us concerned also about our cash flow. Well, as you've already heard from the treasurer, the cash flow hasn't been an issue, because the membership, certainly drop in membership was not an issue. It was the exact opposite. we had a very busy summer with people wanting to apply for membership. And from that, we've gotten some very strong associates. And we had a new situation about halfway through the year where we topped out in our family membership numbers and we didn't have any openings. So a number of good associates had to wait a bit, but we were finally able to move everybody that was in line into a family membership. So we're topped off and it looks like we're going to be at our limit for some time. So there's no shortage of interest in membership at PYC. We've got some really good, strong associates coming on that have sailing backgrounds. And I think the people that have come aboard in the last 2 years of my tenure have really contributed already to the program, and the ones that are waiting in line are also going to be strong contributors. So I leave you and Linda, who follows me, with the membership count at the end of 2020. We've got 21 associates, 150 family members, 21 junior members, 16 out-of-town members, and 6 honorary members. It's been my pleasure to be your membership director for 2 years, and I'm happy to turn it over to Linda Lynn next year. So thank you very much.
We're going to skip, for now, we're going to skip the club boats director. I think he might be online. We're looking for him. Paul, if you're online, make yourself known. For the next presenter, if I was to say too much about this guy, it would just sound like I was gushing, and that would just be awkward for all of us. Past Commodore, Mr. Josh Landers.
So hello, club, and what a 2020 that this has been. But I am extremely excited to give my last report from the board of PYC. But it is amazing how your perspective changes as you progress through the positions of rear, vice, Commodore, and then past Commodore. And it really gives you an appreciation for the hard work and dedication that is actually poured out on this club by its members and by its board. But this year, I would definitely specifically like to take the time to thank Keith Harper for his unwavering commitment to lead this club through some very, very challenging times. And as he mentioned earlier, we had some sister clubs that actually shut down. They didn't allow people on the property. They didn't allow people to come see their boats. They didn't have a way to come and decompress. But Keith and this board, they were very willing to step up to the challenge and figure out a way to keep us both healthy and active. And I can say without a doubt that without this place of refuge, that I think that 2020 would have been much worse for all of us. So thank you. So the main purpose of past Commodore position is to ensure the continuity from one board to the other, and then to act as liaison between PSEF and PYC. So the following are some of the highlights from PSEF for 2020. Now this is Tim Chambers talking from here on out, so hear me out. Sail Camp was in session for 6 weeks from June 15th to July 24th, and we had 114 campers. And that's only 12 less than the year before, which is incredible. But in Tim's words, that's 114 more than any of the other local camps. They had campers from at least 8 different states. And up until May, they feared there was not even going to be a sail camp at all. But then the Tennessee COVID guidelines came out for summer camps, and we realized that we could actually operate the summer camp, but it would be different, business as usual. So they limited the number of campers, and they broke them out into smaller subgroups of just 5 campers each. And they had everyone in different colored buffs so that they could identify them. And they assigned one single boat to each camper for the entire week. And they covered their faces whenever they couldn't maintain safe distance. We didn't serve lunches. They checked temperatures up at the cul-de-sac before everybody came in, including the campers and the staff every morning. And they made it all work, and it's fantastic what they did. And then what was interesting was there were several other sail camps that actually contacted Tim Chambers and Steve and said, how are you doing this? Send us what you're doing. We're going to copy this for either this year or next year, which is a real testament to what we did here this year. So all in all, it was a very, very good year for Sail Camp, and Sail Camp and PSCF wants to thank PYC for supporting them. But a few other highlights: Adult Learn to Sail had 21 new sailors, and there were so many people that wanted to join, they actually had to split it up into morning and afternoon sessions to keep up with it. 4 different boats were donated to PSCF in 2020, including the Flying Scot. The fall fundraiser raised $3,500. They replaced 10 of the aging Optimist with brand new boats. And those old boats actually got then transferred to another camp or another a group that's trying to start their junior program, which is fantastic. The juniors actually traveled to 4 different regattas this year, which is incredible. And then the first year to have extended sailing for juniors all through the winter in 3 different fleets, Optimus, 420, and lasers. And that's just the beginning, and spring is about to come. But with that is my last report. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. You know, it's funny, along with Josh, I think I've been on about 5 rescue missions this year with sailboats out on the lake that are in distress from one form or another. And it's interesting, every single time that I've gone down to one of our chase boats, I've stuck the key in, cranked the engine, and it's fired up right away. That's a testament to Paul Healy, our boat director of this year. I think Paul has submitted his report via email, and that will be in the minutes of the meeting. But give it up for Paul Healy, please. This next guy, I don't know, two words. 2 words. The dude.
Thanks. Well, I hope everybody's abiding tonight. So as Keith said, we started this year with a board meeting, and we talked about what we couldn't do. And there was a lot of, I think, a lot of fear. I mean, everybody was really concerned about what the direction this virus was going to have and what the impact it was going to have on the club and our lives. And, you know, we didn't do much in, I guess, in March and April. And in May, things looked better for some reason, because we decided we would stick our toe in the water and do a May series and, you know, have 2 people on the boat and social distancing and all that. And we would just give it a try. And that worked pretty well. And we had, let's see, I think it was 27 different boats in the May series. And then that worked pretty good. So we decided, well, let's do something different. We'll have a pandemic pursuit series. And I think we had like 30 boats sail in that, 30 different boats. And that was good. And that kind of generated more support for racing. And then we went into a midsummer series, and then we had a fall series. In between, we had a dog regatta, we had a pig regatta, and dog, pig, Halloween. And so we ended up getting a lot of racing done this year. And I really would have thought at the beginning of the year that we would be just sitting on shore all year, not traveling, not going to regattas. And I think we did a really, really fantastic job. And it's, you know, a credit to all the sailors and the people who are, you know, dedicated to sailing and racing and their boats and their crews. A big thanks to Corey Blair for doing scoring this year. And big thanks to all the race committees who showed up to go out there. There were a few people who were a little nervous about getting on a committee boat with other folks, but we had good turnout for the race committee. At the end of all this, let's see. Let me go through it. May series, Pandemic Pursuit, Wednesday night series, Midsummer series, a fall racing series. We added a cruising fleet this year that some people wanted. They wanted a fleet for boats that were more comfortable than they were fast. And we ended up with 60 different races over the year, and 50 different club members sailed in those 60 races. So anyway, I just want to congratulate the whole club for supporting racing this year, and for everybody who pitched in, helped on race committee. And Corey, again, thanks for doing scoring. So I've got some awards, and can you help me hand these out?
Absolutely.
Would you be my assistant? Yeah. Would you be Walter?
You're Vanna White?
I need Walter. Or Donnie, but. Okay, so I'm going to do this since there are multiple. Again, we had a bunch of people win awards because we had so many different series, and I'm going to do this in alphabetical order. And there are people who won multiple awards, but I've got an award for everybody with all the races that they did on the plaque on the award. So first place in the Pandemic Pursuit series was Peyton Anchors. Dave Bergevin next, second place PHRF May Racing Series, second place in the PHRF Fall Series, and third place in the Midsummer Series. I had trouble getting all those on the plaque or on the no, Dave Bergevin.
Yeah, I already did him.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
Next.
Lynn Bruss, third place in the Pandemic Pursuit Series. Come on, man. Third place Portsmouth Midsummer Series. Next, Ed Buell, first place in the Wednesday night series and first place in the PHRF Midsummer Series. Next is Team Caliente. That's a C, Caliente. So Tom Clark, come up. Second place Pandemic Pursuit Series, second place in Wednesday night series, and third place in the Fall Series, PHRF.
All right, is Tom coming up?
Tom? Yes. Come up, get your award. Yeah, no, you can come up.
Okay, can I be as silly as,
Huh?
can I be as silly as Keats?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good small print on there.
Yeah. Next is Tim Chambers, third place in the May Racing Series. Next, Ed Craig, third place in the Portsmouth Fleet May Racing Series. Next is Orinda Gregory.
Woohoo! Give it up for Orinda.
Second place Portsmouth May Racing Series. Come on up. There you go.
Thank you.
Next is Martina Guilfoyle.
Wow. Congrats
First
to her.
place in the new cruising fleet.
Congrats, Martina. Good job.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
This can't be right.
Here's trouble.
Frank Hughes. Frank Hughes, first place PHRF May in the May series.
Who let him in here?
I don't know. Who let the dogs in?
Come on up.
Come here.
Come on up.
There you go.
Thank you.
Good job.
All right. Thanks, Keith.
Yeah, well, I sailed with you, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Next is Team I-26,
Woohoo!
third place in the Wednesday night series.
Hey, don't sit down.
Yeah, don't sit down. Next is Josh Landers. Come on up. Second place in the cruising fleet. False.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Katie. I'm sorry.
first award. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Ixnay on the Austrian.
All right, next is Pat Crow and Chuck Puglisi. They were third place in the Cruising Fleet Fall Series. And next is Bill Robertson, second place PHRF Midsummer Series. And then last but not, and we're glad Bill Robertson's back.
Yep.
Last but not least, Steve Sherman, first place in the Portsmouth Fleet May Racing Series, second place in the Portsmouth Midsummer Series, and first place in the that's first place in the Fall Series PHRF.
Thank you.
You evidently have way too much time on
With
your
the new
hands.
book.
I want to be retired too someday. Well, that's all I've got. Thanks again, everybody, for showing up and racing, and hopefully we'll have a good year next year.
Thank you, Rob. What a fantastic year you put on for us. So I really appreciate that. The lifeblood of this club and sailing in general is new sailors coming into the sport. There is one man who has worked diligently to promote sailing, not only in Chattanooga, but worldwide. And here to present the PSCF awards for tonight, Mr. Steve Sherman.
Thank you. When I got out the best junior for 2020 award, I counted 23 previous recipients of it, and I realized that none of those sailors could have done it without a family that was supporting them. They saw in their child a passion for sailing, and they helped them achieve their goal of learning to sail and getting to sail very well. Ed Buell and Sarah Buell are the parents of the recipient of this year's award, Will Buell. Will started sailing at the age of 5 when his family was going on sailing vacations. He learned to sail in the Optimus dinghy, and he went to many regattas in that boat. I assume some of them were up in Canada because I think they came out of Canada. When he outgrew the Optimist, he started sailing lasers and 420s. He has been a really strong team player. He has helped everybody on the team become better and better competitors. At the practices, he was very generous, helping all of the other sailors out. This past weekend, all of the PYC race team were out on the Melgis 24. It was blowing very hard. Will was at the helm of that boat and doing screaming planes down the lake. Will, we're really proud of you. I'm proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Steve. So when I was making out the agenda for tonight's meeting, I came across the heading. It said Commodore's Award. I thought, how great is that? Not only do I get to be Commodore, but I also get an award. But no, then I realized, no, I have to give an award. And that doesn't seem fair. But all seriousness aside, back in March, when I was thinking about the Commodore's Award, one name kept coming to mind. And that name entered my head, and I was like, no, not him. And I started looking for other people. But over and over and over again, that same name came in front of me. I mentioned before all my friends, and I consider everyone at PYC one of my friends, and I couldn't have done this without them. And there is one person who can be equaled but never surpassed in his love for this club, his love of sailing, and his passion in everything he does in life, and definitely of his support of me. So earlier, Tom Clark mentioned about the day that I came out here with a sledgehammer and a chainsaw and I tore down the steps. And I want to tell you a little bit more to that story. That was a pretty big job. And about halfway through the job, I started getting hungry, but I thought I would just work on. And about that time, I saw this car approach. And I thought, oh, I wonder if there's someone here to help me. But it was more than that. This gentleman exited his car with a plate of food that he had gone home to make me and a cold drink. Now think about that. Here I am doing some work, and this guy thought enough about me to make me food and bring it to me to make my job easier. That is what he is. That is indicative of him in everything he does. He cares about everyone he comes in contact with. PYC is made better every day by this gentleman. My time as Commodore was made better every single day by this gentleman. It is kind of funny. Sometimes we've butted heads, but we have always joined to become one mind. It's my great pleasure to give this year's Commodore Award to my friend, Mr. Steve Sherman.
I feel very honored to win this award. I hope that every year that I'm at this club, I can help every Commodore achieve greatness for this club. I love this club. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, is Pat Crow here, Rob?
I don't have his phone number. I've tried to reach him. I can't get hold of him, so.
Okay.
I'll be happy to make that presentation.
Would you like to do that?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay. Rob Fowler is going to present the Brainerd Cooper Award.
So Pat Crow won our this club's highest award last year, and normally the past recipient makes a presentation, and so I actually kind of helped Pat put together what he was going to say, because he may or may not know the recipient all that well. He knows a little bit, but I knew a little bit more about him, and so, but my problem is now I can't remember what I wrote. So I'm going to wing it. But before I wing it, I thought to do this. Here, this is the deed of gift for the Brainerd Cooper Award. Brainerd Cooper Memorial Award is the highest award given by Privateer Yacht Club. The deed of gift is as follows: perpetual trophy awarded annually to the club member who, in the opinion of the board of directors, has exhibited outstanding attributes in the promotion of sailing and sportsmanship, has contributed significantly to the activities of the club, and has demonstrated proficiency and improvement in sailing ability. Perpetual trophy was donated by Chattanooga News Free Press, where Brainerd Cooper Sr. was the editor. This year's winner is someone who joined our club not all that long ago, but he has continuously worked to learn more about sailing. The reason he joined our club, well, he joined the club to learn to sail, took the adult sailing program, and with the goal of actually sailing across the Atlantic Ocean and sailing to England, of all places. Why England, I don't know. There's a lot warmer places out there, Keith. There's, you know, a little bit further south is the BVI. And so he took the course and then joined the club, and then immediately got involved in just everything that was going on at the time. We were building a new clubhouse, and he volunteered to help survey for the new clubhouse. And he's just done, more than just volunteering for the club. He really has, I think, in terms of the deed of gift, he's tried to improve his sailing ability, which I think is, a lot of times this award goes to someone who has served the club well, and which is important. But it should go to someone who continually tries to improve their sailing ability, their racing ability. And this year's award winner is well deserved, is Keith Harper.
Hey, go.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, all the board of directors. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Pat is on the call. He's just not, he's still muted.
You didn't drop it. Oops.
Okay. All right. So we're continuing on with the formal part of our meeting now, and I'm going to ask, is there any old business that we need to discuss? Also, I'm going to open this meeting up to the people who are watching at home via Zoom. And if you have any new business that we need to discuss, please make yourself known now, and we will get you the microphone. Michael, are you seeing anything? Okay, good. Thank you. I'm going to make the assumption that there is no new business. And so we'll carry on now with the nominating committee report, Mr. Josh Landers.
Congratulations to the newest recipient of the Brainerd Cooper Award. So the nominating committee this year was myself, Mr. Guy Campbell, Mr. Keith Harper. And it was interesting this year because Keith put out in the privateer a call to arms, we would say, to who would be willing to serve for this year. And it actually, it still amazes me how well that PYC steps up to the ball and says, I will volunteer to do these jobs. So it actually made this job extremely easy this year because so many people volunteered. So I will go ahead and say the nominees this year were for Commodore, Mr. Rob Fowler, for Vice Commodore, Mr. Tom Clark, for Rear Commodore, Mr. Frank Hughes, Secretary, Martin Gregory, Treasurer, Mitch Coleman, Dock Master, Kevin Gersh, Club Boats, Tim Chambers, Membership, Linda Lynn, and for Social Director this year, Miss Tina Campbell. So with that, I'll give it back to Keith to bring in the election of the officers.
All right, so this year, similarly to last year, we held an online proxy vote, and I'm pleased to say that I now have the ability to make the motion that we have a new board of directors because the proxy vote We had 69% of the club voting, and all of the nominees have been approved. So congratulations to the new board of directors. All right, we're almost done. Peyton, are you listening at home? It hasn't burned down yet, and we have about 5 more minutes. Okay, now it's my pleasure to present the officer flags for the outgoing board. I beg your pardon? Oh, incoming. Thank you. Oh, so, right. No, you're right. All right, so incoming, Mr. Rob Fowler is going to be our new Commodore. Give it up for Rob.
Thank you.
Yep. And we have our new Vice Commodore, Mr. Tom Clark. Sir. You bet. And Rear Commodore, you guys voted for this guy? Mr. Frank Hughes.
I clearly don't know who he is. Thanks, Keith.
All right.
Really appreciate it.
This is mine, right? Is this mine?
Outgoing, yes.
And I'm outgoing Commodore. Woohoo! Hey! All right, and we have our incoming. Oh my goodness. Sorry, treasurer. No, secretary. Right? Is that secretary?
Secretary, I think it's
Secretary.
Yeah.
Right, Martin Gregory.
Acorn.
Thank you. And our treasurer, Mitch Coleman, receives the acorn. Squirrel it away. Ladies and gentlemen, Linda, would you like to come up to, and all the board members for next year? You don't want to? Okay.
No.
Come on, Linda.
All right, I present to you the incoming flag officers.
Oh, I get to do that
Thank
when
you
we,
Right.
I get to do that here. You can do it if you want.
No, I'm not going to. Nope. Right. And we are almost done. The incoming Commodore is no stranger to being a Commodore. Some might call him strange, but he's no stranger. He's my friend. I've sailed across the Atlantic with him on a couple of occasions, I believe.
South where it's warm.
South where it's warm. It's my pleasure to hand this over to your new Commodore, Mr. Rob Fowler.
All right, I will make this brief. Thanks, Keith. Thanks for doing this. This is great. This is really interesting. and it's an interesting way to cap off an interesting year. And, I'm glad we all survived it. I think that what amazes me is that this looked pretty bleak at the beginning of this year, and we ended up having probably one of the better years. I mean, I've been around here since 1972, and this has been one of the best years I think I've seen as far as just activity. We didn't get to use the clubhouse very much, but I don't think it kept us from doing very much. And hopefully this year we get to move back in the clubhouse. We get to have socials again. Tom Clark's got a great racing schedule set up. Got some interesting things lined up for us. So I'm looking forward to getting into it. I'm looking forward to working with the new board. I want to thank Keith again. I want to thank the board members who are going off, and because I think that we're what we have here is Keith and the board this year left us basically in better shape than what they found it, which is what you want to do. So, and you didn't F it up. And it didn't burn down.
Don't burn it down, that's right.
And so with that, thank you very much. Look forward to 2021. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting? Motion adjourned. Second.